Hello, this is Miss Cromwell, and we are looking at this week's homework. This week, we are doing a review of skills that many students are still having a hard time with, so we wanted to really focus in on those. This first page is for Monday, and on your copies, you'll see that I scribbled, 10 out just because I didn't want to overwhelm anyone. This is a mix between addition and subtraction. And there is also a mix with regrouping. So make sure that your student is paying attention to not only the sign, but also if they need to either regroup or if they need to borrow. All right, so this first one is an addition problem. I'm going to zoom in just a little. There we go. So 206 plus 12. So in your ones column, you have a 6 plus 2. Which is 8. In our tens column, we have 0 plus 1, which is 1. And then our hundreds column, we have 2 plus nothing, which is still 2. So most kiddos have been doing great when we get to different problems like this, where we did not have to regroup, we do not have to borrow. But then we have ones like this one. So we have 329 plus 325. So 9 plus 5 would be 14. And then we regroup, we carry over that 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5. And then 3 plus 3 is 6. Many students are forgetting to show where they regroup. And then when they get to your tens place or whatever comes next, they are not adding what is on top because they didn't write it. So just remind your student that to make sure that they are including what they had to roll over. And then we have questions that are subtraction. So I'm going to use this one over here because this one requires regrouping and borrowing. So we have 157 minus 96. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then our tens place, we have a 5. And then we need to subtract 9. So your student needs to think in their brain, all right, if I have 5, can I take away 9? And the answer is no. So what do I have to do? You have to ask your neighbor. So we're going to take 1 away from here, make that a 0. So we'll put the 1 right inside of this, in front of the 5. I'm going to mark it off just because it's hard to see. There we go. We can either put it on top, just like that, put the 1 and then the 5 again, or just put the 1 in front. Whatever is easiest for your student. And then 15 minus 9 is 6. And then some students bring down the 0. If they do, that's fine. If they don't, that is perfect the way they have it, 61. So that is what we're doing this entire row. I'm going to do one more just because this 0, a lot of our students are struggling with. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 0 minus 7, I can't do. So I have to borrow. The 5 will become a 4. That 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. And 4 minus 2 is 2. Again, please remind your student to cross off the one that they had to either borrow from or regroup. And that way they don't forget, because many students are like, oh, I don't write it because I can remember. And I'm like, no, you're not going to remember though. All right, so that is what we're doing on Monday. On Tuesday, we have, let me move this back out. We have some different ordering numbers. And this was from our first unit, but a lot of kiddos struggled with it because many students did not want to do the show work, basically, because it takes just a minute. But I told the kiddos, if y'all are doing the show work, you're more than likely going to get these answers correct. The number one thing they need to pay attention to is ask you if it's going least to greatest or if it's going greatest to least. So this goes back and forth, and I'll do one of each. All right, so I'm going to zoom in so you all can see it really well. I'm going to start on this side. There we go. So ordering numbers. This right here is just our place value charts. Your students should be able to make this on their own. It is something that's going to help them this entire school year. Okay. Then it says order these numbers from least. Ask your child what least means. It means the smallest. And then to greatest. What does greatest mean? The largest. So these are your numbers. So we have 1,000. So that's where your 1 goes. And then 073, 073. Again, that's 1,127. And then right here we have 2,086. Please try to remind your student to ensure that they are putting these digits in the correct place. Many students want to put it all the way over here, but if you look over here, this is hundred thousands, and none of these numbers are hundred thousands. So if we look at these, we know we want to go to least to greatest. So we start in that thousands place. We have a 1, 1, and a 2. Well, what is the smallest? Well, the 1. So I'm going to just leave that out for a minute. Now I'm going to move over to my hundreds. I have a 0 and a 1, which is the smallest, the least, and it's this 1073, the 1073. So that is your smallest, so you would put that first. Okay, and then you go ahead and draw a line through it because you used it. You're not going to use it twice. All right, next you're going to do the next smallest. So again, starting your thousands, you have a 1 and 2, which is the smallest, a 1. So you're going to go ahead and write that number on the next line, 1,127. Scratch it off. You already used it, which only leaves you with 1 left, which is 2,086. All right, so that is how we use these digits. This is show work, which is what every student has to turn in during their assessments, and this is how you would get a correct answer. On many of the assessments, these digits, these numbers up here will be clickable, and they'll have to click and drag. Now if we move over, we can see on here it says order these numbers from greatest to least. So our kiddos who they're like, oh, I can do this, which many of them can. The common error is that they're not looking at what it says to do. We need the largest number first. All right, so again, we're going to take all 3 of these numbers and we're going to line them up. So this first one is 4,509, 4,509, 4,315, 4,315, and then 4,097. 4,097. Okay, I want the greatest, and even up here it tells you again, you want the greatest on top. So starting your thousands place, you have 4, 4, and 4. Well, they're all the same, so none of them can be bigger. So we're going to move to the hundred spot. We have a 5, 3, and a 0. Which one is the largest? It's the 5. So cover the others, and then go ahead and write it. 4,509. Get it off, there we go. Next, we want to find the next largest. So we do the same thing, start back in the thousands, 4 and 4 are the same. Move to the hundreds, 3 and 0, well, which one's larger? That's the 3, so cover it up so you can ensure you get the correct answer, mark it off, and then you're left with only 1, which should be the smallest number. Okay, I had to go through because both of these were already in order, and I'm like, oh no, that's not all of them, but no, it is not. So that is our strategy. That is the method. Again, what we're doing on this grid paper is show work. That is their place value chart. Over here is where you have your answers. So they do need to use both. All right, that's Tuesday's math homework. Wednesday's math homework is more word problems, and we saw on our test last week that word problems was something many students had a rough time because a lot of kiddos just did not want to read it. So let's work through a few. This question says, there are 131 fewer adults than kids at the amusement park. There are 618 adults. How many kids are there? So a lot of students would see the word fewer and say, oh, we're going to adult. We're going to subtract because the word fewer, which I totally get. However, we're not necessarily just looking for specific words. Okay. Yes, there is a subtract somewhere, but not where we're going. And I'll explain that in just a moment. Okay. So the questions are, we want to know how many students there are, how many kids. All right. And we know that kids are going to be more. There's more students, more children, because it says that there are fewer adults. Okay, so we're going to add these because we have 618 adults, and then we're going to add it to the 131 difference, because that part is the difference. And then how many children do we have? How many kids? 8 plus 1 is 9. 1 plus 3 is 4. 6 plus 1 is 7. So that is how we do that. And like I said, a lot of kids are getting confused because it does say fewer, and they're like, oh, we're subtracting. So here's what that is actually saying. Okay. So now that we have actually found the answer, now we can check our answer. And so, all right, we have 749 children. If we say there are 131 fewer adults than children, how many adults? So now if we subtract it, 9 minus 1 would be 8, 4 minus 3 would be 1, and 7 minus 1 is 6. So again, there's 618. So this is just checking. Students don't need to do this, but this is how I'm trying to read to them and show them, like, this is how we can justify our answers. But let me erase that right there. This is what we're looking for. Okay. This is your show work, and then that would be how many children or kids are at the amusement park. I'm going to do one more. The beekeepers added 517 honeybees yesterday and 142 honeybees today. How many more honeybees did they add yesterday than today? This is also a subtraction problem because we want to find the difference. Okay. We want to find out how many more were done yesterday. So we take how many was done yesterday, 517. We subtract from the ones today, which is 142. 7 minus 2 is 5. We have 1. We need to take away 4. We cannot do that. So you have to borrow. So the 5 becomes a 4. This 1, I'm going to put a 1 directly in front. So now I have 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. And then 4 minus 1 is 3. So how many more honeybees did they add yesterday than today? They added 375 more. All right. I believe all of these... I think, yes, all of these are subtraction, all 3 problems, because that was a big one that a lot of students are having a hard time with. So the bottom one is also a subtraction problem. All right, and then Thursday is expanded form. So they're writing these numbers in expanded form, and all that means is looking at each digit and thinking about which place they are in, and then you write down its value. So what I would tell students, and many of them, I'm hoping they still remember because we didn't do it that long ago, but they should remember, like for the 6, you write it underneath, and then anything next to it, you write in zeros. So there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. So I know I'm going to put the 6, and then how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Plus. Okay. The next one is a 0. Some students want to write the 0. Other students do not. It is correct either way. I am not going to write it just because it's 0 and the digit 0 represents nothing. And then now in the thousands spot is a 4. So again, you just write the 4 under where you found the 4. And then anything to the right, you make a 0. There's 3 spots left. So again, now I'm going to write a 4. And how many zeros? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're going to go to the next spot. We have our 100 spot. That's a 2, so I'm going to write a 2. And then everything after is a 0. So we had the 100 spot, that's a 10 spot, and the ones. Just 200, or a 2, and then 1, 2 zeros, 1, 2 zeros. Now we're going to the tens. We have a 5. Make that a 0 as well, which is 50. And then last in the 1 spot is just a 1, and there's no spaces after it. Okay, this method right here of showing work like this is preferred, especially since 1 is still the beginning of the school year. But this method right here is going to help ensure that students are not accidentally writing the incorrect number of zeros. All right, I've had students, they do this and they're like, oh yeah, that's 600,000, but then they don't have 5 zeros. Sometimes there's like 10 zeros or only 2 zeros. So this way is a great way just to help them figure out how to do it. Okay, and then I'll do one more. I'll do this bottom one because that has stumped a few people before. All right, so this bottom one, I will put a 9. Again, the digit, just write it underneath. Make the rest zeros. So that was the 100,000s, your 10,000s, your thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. So now I'm going to write a 9 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros plus, that's a 0 and that's a 0. So again, if they want to write zeros, they may. Otherwise, it's still right without them. The next digit you see that's not a 0 is an 8. So I'll put an 8 and then I make these zeros. Again, now your 10 spot is still a 0 and you have a 2. And so that's how that is done. So just stretching it out so you can look at the value of each digit, because if you added them all up, if I stacked and added, you would get the same original number. All right. As far as reading homework, many students have different homework because we're trying to differentiate. That way it's helping everyone the most. But if you have any questions about anything, whether it's the math homework or the reading homework, just reach out to your child's teacher and we'll help you out. Thanks and have a great evening.